So hello guys, welcome back to this podcast. We are very much grateful for you coming back to watch. If you have not subscribed, kindly subscribe, like and share na tashukuru sana. So today nimewaletea mtu mmoja kwa maisha yangu na kwa maana sana na amekuwa akinisaidia sana kwa hii journey. Let's pick around his brain to sikia nini atatu advice on, and through that tutajengana, mimi nijenge na wewe ujijenge na tuendelee kugrow. This current series we are going to be dealing on mainly the men, because I feel like hapo ndo space yenye inahitaji a bit of space. Kuna gap fulani imeachwa. Female mademo wanakuanga empowered sana, of which it's good, but also I feel like as men we need to improve. Tunafaa tujitume. So I think takuwa part of our watu wenye wanajituma. Don't say brothers wangu wengine wenye wawezi. Tashukuru sana. So without talking too much, I'll let him introduce himself and then tuendelee. Habari yako?
Safi kabisa.
Kwa salama.
Mimi nashukuru.
Kwa majina?
I have 3 names. When I want to feel very intellectual, I call myself Vincent.
Okay.
And when I want to see myself very spiritual, I call myself Jacob. But when I want to be very traditional, I call myself Ouma. So Ouma. Vincent Jacob Ouma.
Hey.
Yeah.
Vincent Jacob Ouma.
Yes.
Jacob spiritual.
Yeah, very spiritual.
Very spiritual.
In fact, sometimes the 3 of them have a meeting.
Interesting.
And you normally know it's a bad day when Ouma wins the day.
Okay. Interesting. So initially I had approached you now about stories to deal with the topic on about men, and I'm really grateful for you allowing and just giving me this time for us to be able to speak out more to manhood. Okay. So I think today I have 3 questions. Okay. And one is, who is a man? One of them is, who is a man? Yes.
Wow. It reminds me of okay, first of all, I want to tell the viewers I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in manhood. I'm still growing as a man. I'm still learning being a man. And I think for me, if I'm to define a man, a man is a male human being. And male means male, who has everything male, born by nature. That's a man. Or I can say that's a male.
Yeah, I think yes. That's a male.
But now, in the current society that we live in, it's a choice to be a man.
Well,
it's a choice to be a man. But a male, that one you are assigned at birth.
Sure,
you are either male or female.
Yeah.
But being a man, you choose to be a man. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to look at the sculpture. Ilikuwa nibishane nawe actually.
Okay.
Venye umesema a man.
No problem.
Because at times you tend to hear kuna a boy, then kuna a young man, and then kuna the man itself, being a man. So you find that ukiwa boy ni wewe ukiwa mdogo,
okay,
when you are young. And then it's later on, through life experiences, through some advices and guidance and mentors, you later graduate towards being the man. Yeah. So what does it mean also just to be a man apart from being a male at birth? Because I believe when you are born is when you get to know either male or female. And then from there, as we go on, how do we get to sit around and say that truly I am a man?
Okay.
How do you know that you're a man?
Okay. Now, I think in defining a man, there are different angles you can choose. One, you can either choose to go, there is a biblical way of defining a man. There is how the society wants to define a man, and every culture has a different way of defining a man throughout all the stages of growth. So let's, for example, we are in Kenya, and there are some tribes that have not lost their culture, like the Maasais, the Pokot.
Sure.
Now, for them, being a man is defined from birth. You'll find that the things the society will do when a woman gives birth to a male is different. The celebrations, the gifts that are given, it's different.
Sure.
That is one. And then two, there are some tasks, like for example, for me, when I was growing up, according to our culture, my dad believed that as a man I'm not supposed to enter the kitchen. So for them, they were defining a man in terms of roles. So if you find yourself in the kitchen, I think that's why I never became a chef, though I loved cooking.
Sure.
Yeah. So for my dad, it was you get into the kitchen, you do, those are roles. So he will make sure that I don't do that. He'll make sure I don't do that. So going back to the Maasais, you'll find that when they reach at a particular age, let's say, I think it's around 14, where they circumcise. And that's an announcement. It's an initiation to announce them that now you're becoming a man. And I think also in Luya, the same. They'll have those initiations. And once you are circumcised, then, and even in the cultures where they don't circumcise, they will do something with the teeth.
With it, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So when you go through that initiation, the society is telling you that you're actually a man.
Sure.
And the roles that you're supposed to to play.
Sure.
When you go to biblical, biblical is a different ballgame also.
Okay.
So there are unique roles, but also there is how the Bible puts it. So depending on which.
Okay. I've heard on the traditional side of it.
Yes.
Before I attack you, you've also mentioned about the spiritual. Yes, I think it's wise for me to listen on the spiritual end also, so that I can be able to know whether to pose the question or it will be answered on the spiritual phase. So what does it mean also to be the spiritual, on the spiritual side of being a man? What does it mean?
Okay.
The biblical way.
The biblical way.
Yeah, sure.
So now, the biblical way, it's very clear. If you look at the book of Genesis, especially chapter 1 and I think verse 27, the Bible says, and God created them, male and female. And from the account of scriptures, man was created first. Male. That is Adam. And from God's perspective, Adam was given specific roles as the leader. So when we look at a man from a biblical point of view, man is looked at as a leader in the society. A leader of himself, a leader of his family, and I know, like, you see, man, I can also say man is a spirit. And that spirit does not, I don't think spirit grows. So you might find a young boy, he has a spirit of a man. It's only the body.
Okay. It makes sense. It makes sense.
It's only the body that it's small. But that spirit is man from the beginning to the end.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what was your question?
My question was, I was about to attack you on the circumcision part, because many a times you find that in this generation, some people that I've gotten to encounter with, just because you got circumcised, it qualifies you to be a man. But when you come to look at the reasoning of somebody, you get to understand and say, yo, and yeah, we are just calling ourselves a man, but tabia kidogo.
Yeah, true.
Now at the end of the day, ulikuwa circumcised. So I was just having that mixed up. Yeah. Being a man, is circumcision, is it only the thing that validates the fact that ukisha circumcise ndo unasema wewe ndo mwanaume pekee ama?
Okay. You see, even when you talk about circumcision, in these cultures like the Maasai, the Luyas, it's how they do it. Nowadays, when you talk about circumcision, we talk about technology.
Yeah, sure.
You are injected, so there is no pain.
Yeah, sure.
But the one we are talking about is, especially kama ya Waluya, because I'm a Luya, I can speak on that one. Mnaraushwa asubuhi.
Nasikianga, mnapeleka.
Kwanza mmepakwa vitu na, and then there are some people na
chapo.
And then mnamovishwa asubuhi kwa huku people are singing. And mna circumcisewa kwa mto.
Kwa mto, yeah.
And there is no pain reliever. It's your flesh. So for you to prove that you are a man, you're not supposed to cry.
What happens?
Neither to flinch. So you see, so and that is not a qualification of being a man per se.
No.
Because like what I'm agreeing with you in what you are saying, you can be circumcised, but when you open your mouth,
yeah, sure. Don't feel attacked, kindly. But so, if you feel attacked, learn.
Yeah, so there are people who are circumcised, but there is no manhood.
Oh, sure.
So circumcision by itself doesn't make you a man. But in some cultures, ni kama tu vile,
rite of passage.
Kwa mfano, let me tell you about wahubiri. Kuna sehemu kama za Western, ukienda kuhubiri kama hujavaa suti au uko anointed.
Kidogo huyu hapana.
So wewe ukienda kule uhubiri na hujavaa suti, andugu
hapo utoboi. Akwambia wewe bwana.
So to them, once they see that, not all, but once they see that, that's how you can actually spot a Pasi in very easily, because there is a particular way.
Dress code.
Yes.
Interesting.
But while for us, we are in Mombasa, I can preach like this and people listen to me.
Yeah.
But there are some places. So clothes by themselves, they don't mean they are anointed. It's just like circumcision.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. That's good. So, what are some of the qualities that a man should have? Because I'm looking at the example that you've given on the biblical side of it. What has come to my mind ni David.
Okay.
Yeah. David alikuwa young na yeye ndo alimanage kuwa Goliath. Yeah. So I'm just seeing the small boy and the spirit inside him ilikuwa more strong enough, energetic enough, courageous, twende. Na wengine wote walishindwa kumwangusha.
Exactly. So, that's a very good example.
That's the example that has come to my mind. So on the other flip of side of it, what are some of the qualities that I should have or that I should nurture myself into so that I can keep on calling myself a man each and every time?
Okay. Like I started by saying I'm not an expert.
Yeah, sure.
And some of the things I'm speaking, I'm speaking from my own personal observation, things that I've learned from my mentors, and things that I've read. But one quality that is missing in our generation is a man, you should be a burden bearer. You should have the capacity to bear a burden. And this is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes back I traveled to Eldoret and I intentionally asked to be taken to the place where that young man killed that girl with an axe. Yeah. And when I was thinking about that incident, I realized that today men cannot even handle a no. Rejection. So the capacity to be able to, men, we don't talk a lot.
Yeah, sure.
And I think God has done that creatively to protect us. So for me, the first is a man should be a burden bearer. Try to create capacity to withstand offense. That is number one. Number two, the best quality you can know is that you have limitations. A lot of people don't want to accept that they have limitations or weaknesses.
Yeah, sure.
So the second thing for me is understand your limitations and your weaknesses, because that's where many of us rise and that's where many of us fall. So once you know your weaknesses and your limitations, you will know where to seek help. Because even from the Bible, the Bible tells us that God said it was not good for a man to be alone. And I think the number one partner in you being a man, I've come, and this, like I said, I'm speaking from
your own experience,
from my own personal experience. There are days I lived without God, and man, I wanted to commit suicide. Maybe that story, we'll talk about it another day.
Okay.
And so a man, once you know your limitations, you realize those weaknesses and limitations can be dealt with by God.
Sure.
So if you want to make it in the field of manhood, you must have God.
Interesting.
You must. It's not negotiable. If you choose to negotiate with it, you lose. Yeah. And then now, once that is sorted, now the issue of trustworthy, because those are the byproducts of a man with God. That's why you mentioned David.
Yeah, sure.
And I know David had a lot of blunders, but even in his blunders, God said, I found myself a man after my own heart.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's good. I'll come back to you on that topic or maybe another episode of why a man needs God in his life.
Good.
That's on something that should not. Now, you viewer, kindly, kama uja subscribe, kindly subscribe, tashukuru sana. Kama uko na maswali yoyote you'd like to ask, kindly leave them there down below. We'll appreciate, and yes. So well, okay. So yes, Pasi. Let's move to the next question that I had. It was more of traditions. And do you believe in... Okay, the question was, how have traditional gender roles affected men's identity? So for me, when I read this question, what came into my mind is that we find that traditionally, when you guys umelezea what it meant to be a man, what people had to go... Like, for example, for my case, my dad used to not like it when I go to the kitchen. Okay. It was the place of ladies.
Hata kwenu pia?
Hata mimi. Nakumbuka nikiwa mdogo, kuna time nilikuwa napendoka kwa jikoni akaniambia wewe, unafaa kukaa huko kwingine. Acha sisters zako, wakae huko wangangane kupika huko. Mimi, nikae huko kando. Though later on, nikakuja nikarealize what he was trying to say. So when I read this question, what came into my mind that in the traditional way, there's a way that men used to operate. But when you come to this modern right now, you find the instances when you unapata unaambiwa 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah. Dem akuje na hii, boy akuje na hii. There's so much in this 50-50 thing. What's your view on it? Sure. What's your view on it?
Wow. I think asking that question in our century is very tricky. Because anaweza kupiga mawe. But to me, I think it's not supposed to be a tricky question. And I think even from observation, and even our viewers can try it, You gather a group of men and a group of women and tell them that you are going for a camp. And just observe when they reach the place what each and every one of them will do. You'll find that they'll fit so well and no one will complain. Automatically. Depending on where you have gone, let's say there are rooms, it's not, or even if there are no rooms, the lady
Yes, 50-50. Sorry about what happened. Tutavumilia tu kidogo. Yes, basi.
Yeah, so
50-50.
like vile nilikuwa nikisema, you take a group of men and female. The women automatically will start to look for where they are going to cook.
Firewood.
They will ask questions like, what are we going to eat? While the men will ensure, is that place secure? Do we have what is to be cooked? And once that is sorted, you'll find the female gender will be, if there is a goat to be slaughtered, the men will be there. And once it is slaughtered, the rest they'll leave it. And then they'll go and catch up. You even go to let's say, okay, I'll use a very bad example. Okay, it's not a bad example because it's natural. Where people have died. You'll find maybe in this house there is somebody has died. People will go there to mourn with the family, but the ladies will go straight to the kitchen to make tea, while the men will sit. So
I think I've ever viewed that one.
You have observed that. So what does that tell us? It tells us that we are coming from somewhere. And because these things were passed from, if you get to talk to your parents, you'll realize that these things were passed. So there are some, though I'm not today, I thank God for my mom, because it's my mom who broke the myth that men should not enter the kitchen. And I think that is useful, because even if now I'm married, what if like today my wife was not feeling well? I entered the kitchen. And also, mkikosana na amegoma.
Ndio sasa.
Mkikosana na amegoma. So boy lazima ajue kujipanga. So to me, I think it's a bad debate about roles and 50-50, but for me, I believe it's about serving one another. And when we serve one another, the roles can intertwine. Just like the way, yes, you are supposed to be the provider, or yes, you are supposed to be the protector. And I know of a story of a man. Yeah, he grew up traditional that you are the protector. But what he didn't know that the lady...